time in YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I am bringing you something new, something shiny, something fun. I'm going to teach you how to play this game. That's right, I'm going to teach you how to play Pokemon TCG online. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've actually had 2 or 3 people come up to me and say, "Hey, Time, I really like what you're doing, but I don't know how to play this game yet. Collected a lot of the cards, saw a few matches, but I don't know what I'm doing. So where do I start?" And I'm like, okay, I'll formulate something. So I put together a small little thing for everybody. Today I'm just going to go over the basics of the game. We're not getting into deck building. We might get into a trainer game to showcase some of the rules and how they go, and how the format of the actual game itself is played. But we're simply going to be looking over the 3 basic cards you're going to be seeing in the game. And that is Pokemon, Trainers, and Energies. Now there are a lot of different things that you can be seeing in this game. There's going to be Pokemon that have strong abilities, strong attacks, special artwork, special mechanics. There's a lot to digest. So we're going to simply look at the basics. And what's more basic than Pikachu? The way you can tell it's a basic Pokemon is simple. It has the word basic up here in the corner on the left hand side. Then it'll have its name, its HP cost, so this is how much damage it can take after taking attacks. You're going to see its energy symbol, so the type it is. Now usually you can tell this by the color of the border, but not necessarily. So for this particular training, always look at this corner and see what type it is. Now, you're going to see different attacks. Some Pokemon have attacks, or like multiple attacks. Some have abilities and a single attack. For Pikachu, he has 2 attacks. He has one that costs him 1 electric energy. So when I say 1 electric, it has to be an electric energy. Now we're going to take a look at his second attack, Agility. These are colorless. This means you could have Fairy Energy and Psychic Energy and Fire Energy on Pikachu, and this attack will work. As long as he has 2 of any color energy, he can use this attack. Perfect. Now down here, you're going to see the weakness. So Pikachu, being an electric type, is weak to ground. Well, in this game, ground is being consumed by the fighting type. So for Pikachu, he is now weak to anything fighting. He has a resistance though, which is beautiful. A lot of Pokemon don't have these. He has a steel resistance. So you're going to ask, well, what happens when you get hit by a weakness or a resistance? Well, you're going to double or subtract the damage that is being done to this Pokemon. So for instance, say I'm a Lucario. I'm doing 20 damage to Pikachu. Now, because Pikachu is weak to fighting, Pikachu is actually going to take 40 damage. That's a lot more than 20. That doesn't seem like a lot at first, but when you start getting into the big numbers, I mean like, you're looking at a Lucario EX. He's got 100 base power. Pikachu's sitting here. He's like, I'm weak to you. You're going to do 200 damage. Just because I'm weak to you. That's right. That's a lot more damage. Unfortunately, though, the resistances can't be the same. A resistance will only reduce the damage by 20. So, you see a Clink Clank. And he's like, hey Pikachu, I'm going to damage you. Well, he's hitting me for 100. I'm still going to probably get knocked out. But I can reduce that damage by 20, so he's only going to hit me for 80. Now, sure, for Pikachu, it still lights out. However, it's alright. We'll move on. Down here you have a retreat cost. Retreat costs are always going to be colorless. You could put any energy on a Pokemon, barring a few special energies. With retreat cost, all I have to do is sacrifice one energy that's attached to this Pokemon, and I can get him out of the active spot, bring him out, and switch something I want in. We'll get to that a little later. The last little bit that you'll want to see are these little numbers and symbols down here. These numbers and the symbol represent the set your card is going to be in. So for instance, Pikachu is number 48 out of 162 of the Breakthrough set. Perfect. It takes a little bit to get used to the symbols. You get used to them as you see more of them, and you learn what each set has and what they promoted and all that kind of great stuff. But for today, Pikachu is in Breakthrough. He's number 48. Done. So, what do we do with Pikachu? Well, there's a lot of options. First off, we can evolve him. We're going to look at Raichu. Hey, this guy looks a lot more powerful. He has a 70 on the card. Oh my, his HP is not 60. He can take another hit. He's also a stage 1. This means in order for me to use this card, I already have to have Pikachu on the bench. Which is simple. There are a lot of cards to help you get basic Pokemon out. But for this guy, I can't play him until Pikachu's out there. But what happens is anything that was on Pikachu, say damage, energies, items, you name it, they stay on Raichu even after evolving. The only thing that you lose are effects. So if Raichu is hit with Sleep, Burn, Confusion, they're gone. You don't have to worry about him anymore. Raichu, you have evolved, and our opponent has to hit us with those skills again to hit us with those problems. Now again, he still has the weakness, the resistance. He's just a bigger Pikachu. Just think of it that way. Now, there are other mechanics in the game. With Raichu and Breakthrough, they came out with a new mechanic called breaks. These are gorgeous, but they are played a little weird. So a break card acts like a stage 3 or stage 4, depending on the break. And just like how I had to have Pikachu for Raichu, I already have to have Raichu in play before I can play Raichu Break. And Raichu Break isn't it's not like a straight up Pokemon. You can't just take it from the discard and put it into play, like certain cards can be. No, Raichu Break is an attachment to another card. So, you see that big HP? Yes, the Raichu that you just saw in play, he now has that. This new attack that this Raichu has, this 170 powerful attack, yeah, this little guy gets it. But he has to have the new attachment equipped. Now, on top of this, we have a ton of brand new cards coming out all the time called Pokemon EX. These are powerhouses. These cards come in and they shake the game up tenfold. They have attacks that are beyond powerful. They also have a lot of gorgeous artwork. Especially if you like the CGI kind of stuff, there's a lot of that. Now, the difference here is they're also basics. The majority of them are basics. I could bring you a Machamp, and as long as he's an EX, he's a basic. And again, they state this by having the word basic up in the corner. He's got the HP total still. His name is Mewtwo EX. He has attacks, weaknesses, retreat costs, but he does have an additional rule. And it specifies on the card, Pokemon EX rule. When a Pokemon EX has been knocked out, your opponent takes 2 prize cards. Simple. So, to make up for the fact that these guys are so powerful, the company had to come up with a way to make it fair to the other player if they actually knocked it out. So, these are risks versus rewards, and they're completely up to the player. On top of that, in the X and Y block, they came out with Mega Pokemon. Now these act like an evolution card. It even says it, Mega, and there you see Mewtwo in the corner. Just like Raichu in the previous few minutes ago. Well, the difference here is it can't just be any Mewtwo. It has to be Mewtwo EX. And again, it specifies that on the card. It says evolves from Mewtwo EX. But again, it's got a huge HP gain. It's got a powerful attack. But again, with all good things, there's a ruling. And the ruling for this is Mega Evolution Rule. When one of your Pokemon becomes a Mega Pokemon, your turn ends. That's it. No more attacks, no more supporters, no more trainers, no more energy. End. Your turn is done, nothing more. So, with that, we'll move on. On top of your regular basic cards, you have some Pokemon that have different abilities. And we're going to look at Absol for one. He has an when you play this card from your hand ability. So, when you play this card from your hand, you may move 3 damage counters from any of your opponent's Pokemon to another of his or her opponent. From one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of his or her Pokemon. So, there are a ton of different effects that give you, when you play this card, something happens. There are Pokemon that can deal damage. There are Pokemon that can give you cards. There are Pokemon that can cause effects. There are all sorts of things, and that is the magic of the game. There's just more and more coming every couple months. You also have effects that affect attacks. Look at Noivern, for instance. He has echolocation. If any damage is done to this Pokemon by attacks, flip a coin. If heads, prevent that damage. That can be pretty broken. And at the same time, there are other effects that reduce damage, that prevent all damage. There are things that have specifications. There's an Aegislash EX that has where if I'm hitting it with a Pokemon with a special energy, nothing happens. Great. So you have to work around these abilities. So no deck is ever going to be perfect. You're always going to have some sort of counter. There are also abilities that you can use every turn. Take Octillery, for instance. He has Abyssal Hand. Once during your turn, before your attack, you may draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. And yes, folks, if you have multiple Octilleries, this can stack. So if I want to use a bunch of cards, get them out of my hand, sort through, I'm not getting the luck I want, Octillery is here to say, hey buddy, I'm going to help you out. There are multiple cards that benefit this. You have cards that can benefit you in more ways than you could imagine. So, yeah, sure, with Octillery, he's manipulating your hand. You have cards like Aromatisse. Or I can actually showcase this one. Aromatisse. This guy has Fairy Transfer. And it's the same thing. As often as you like during your turn, you may move energies from one Pokemon to another. It's benefiting you for this guy being on the bench. Another option is Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime. Okay. Come on, Mr. Mime. There we are. We'll take the new one because he's new and pretty. He has Bench Barrier. Prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by attacks. So just with him sitting on the field, you only need one of them in the deck because it doesn't stack. But with him being on the field, your bench Pokemon cannot be affected by damage. This does not, however, protect damage counters. There is a difference, folks. So you have damage and damage counters. You'll see that some Pokemon, say for example Juggling, you hit it, it's 10 times 4 coins, and it does 10 damage for each coin flip you hit. That's regular damage. So if I was, say, Mr. Mime attacking attacking Noivern, I would have to flip a coin. And if heads, I prevented that damage. However, there are cards like Crobat who have an ability called Surprise Bite. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. These do not count as regular damage. So, this bypasses Mr. Mim's barrier. This bypasses Heart Charms and protective measures. It has a lot of benefits to it. And then you have things like Skill Dive, again, does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. That's when you apply weakness and resistance. When you deal with counters, you don't deal with weakness and resistance. It's 30, flat out, done. There you go. And to specify again, 1 damage counter is equal to 10 HP. Everything is intense. Like, nothing to worry about there. So, now that we've had a good look at Pokemon and what they do, and of course, guys, I expect questions in the comments section. I'm probably not going to hit everything. There's definitely going to be something I missed. We're going to hit trainer cards now. Now, there are 3 different cards. There are items, supporters, and stadiums. And they all have different rulings. Now, there are, again, a plethora of different items, supporters, and stadiums. What they do is completely up to the card. But it's their mechanic of what they are that matters. So, for example, an item card. I can play, if I have 10 item cards in my hand, I can play all 10 of them. However, if I have a supporter, I can only play one of these a turn. They're usually more broken. They usually manipulate some sort of factor in the game, whether it's getting you Pokemon, your hand, antagonizing your opponent. Happens a lot, folks. It's a lot more to deal with, and there's no downside usually. And then you have stadiums. Now, with stadiums, again, you can only play 1 stadium a turn. And stadiums are permanent on the field. Think of it as a battle arena. I am now taking my little circle that I'm battling in, and I'm turning it into this mountain range of a fighting area. And usually, people run stadiums that benefit you. There is just one catch. There's only allowed 1 stadium in play for both players. That's right. So if I'm playing a Scorched Earth and you're playing another stadium, if I have Scorched Earth out on the field and you switch it, if you play another one, my Scorched Earth is gone. We switch into your stadium. But vice versa. If your stadium's out on the field and I play Scorched Earth is the new stadium. Said and done. Again, there are cards to lock these stadiums in. There are cards out there that can prevent stadiums from even being played, but that's in general. There are cards out there that will lock you out from anything. The other thing that I do want to look at are item cards. And the differences between a few of them. So for certain item cards, you have, say, Level Ball. It lets you search your deck for a Pokemon. It has restrictions, yes, but you can search for a Pokemon. There you go. That's what it does. It goes in the discard pile after. It's null and void. You have cards, so like, say, Ampharos Spirit Link. This is a Pokemon tool, and you can tell based on the symbol here. It says Pokemon tool, and it says attach a Pokemon tool to one of your Pokemon that doesn't already have a tool on it. And then it has an effect. So for in this case, if I had an Ampharos EX out and I attached Spirit Link, I could evolve into Mega Ampharos without losing my turn. Simple. Now, there are other items, such as, say, Assault Vest, that affects what happens to the Pokemon. whether it's being damage manipulation, whether it be adding damage, subtracting damage, or giving it an immunity to something, there's a lot of things that you can do. There's things like experience share that has, if it gets knocked out, if your active gets knocked out, the Pokemon this card is attached to gets energy from it. Perfect! There are so many things you have to look at when looking at cards that it's almost amazing and almost a little intimidating what there is. The last card type is energies. Now there is a few different energies, but primarily there's only two types of energy, basic and special. Basic energy, it's a simple, it provides the color in the corner, so this one provides dark, provides one of it, and I can only play one of it a turn. Easy. Then you have special energies, and this is where the fun part comes in. Special energies are there to help you benefit in many ways, many more ways than one. So, for example, we have double colorless energy, one of the staples of Pokemon TCG right from the get-go. This special energy provides two colorless energies. So you remember that Pikachu way back at the start of the video that had agility for two colorless? With just one attachment, I can use that tag. Now, there are other special energies, especially currently, that are coming out in each of the new X and Y sets. I'll take a look at the most recent, Burning Energy. Now, Burning Energy is not a fire energy. Let's be clear here. Yes, it has the symbol. It provides fire energy, but you can't search for it like you could a fire energy. Unless it's specifically stating special energy, you can't just use it. Or you can't just search for it in that sense. Now, there are rules to these cards as well. So for example, Burning Energy. This card can only be attached to a fire Pokemon. This card provides fire energy only while this card is attached to a fire Pokemon. So like I said, it doesn't actually have any fire energy attached to it until it's attached to the Pokemon. Think of it like an oven. It doesn't have any power until you turn it on. So this card has no power until the Pokemon is using it. Simple? I think so. So, moving on. Now that we've gone over the card types, and again, there's a lot. I mean, like I could go over Double Dragon Energy. I could go over Flash Energy. But overall, the experience of the card game is going through it yourself and learning. There's nothing more I can say. The best way to experience a card game is to experience it firsthand on the collection side. Now, I'm going to quickly get us into a game. We're going to go to the Trainer Challenge. And I'm not editing right now. Just going to quickly go into a trainer game. And we're going to go into the golds. Easy mode, because this is a test game. And to go over it, we will play... Sorry guys, this is the hardest part of the whole day, is deciding what you want to play. I'm going to play this one. This water deck. The basic blue X and Y. Done. We're going to select a trainer. We're going to select Zach. Just for fun. Alright, now we're going to get into the game. This is where I'm going to teach you guys the format. Now, to start off the format, there's a coin flip that'll go off, and it'll determine who goes first or second. In this predicament, though, the coin flip doesn't happen. They just give me the first place. That's fine. But on a regular basis, there's a coin flip that determines the first, who goes first. Now, when you're playing on the regular game, you will draw 7 cards. Simple. You'll draw 7 cards, and the first thing you have to look at when getting these cards is, do you have any basic Pokemon? If yes, you can skip to the next step. If no, your hand gets shuffled back into your deck, and your opponent draws an extra card. It's called a Mulligan. So what this does is it puts you at a disadvantage because your deck didn't work, essentially. I know, it's not fair. We've all had it. But that's the name of the game. Now that we're past that point though, now that we have basics in hand and we're ready to go, we're going to pick a basic and we're going to put it in the active position. Simply enough, there's allowed 6 Pokemon on the field at any given time. These 6 Pokemon, you have 1 as your active and 5 as your bench. We're going to play a plethora of them right now because we can. So now I have 4 Pokemon total on the bench. I can have 2 more. Again, there are always things that can change this. There's a stadium out there now that can produce... You can have 8 Pokemon on your bench at a time. Great. So, order of operations. Because I'm playing first, I cannot attack turn 1. But I can attach energy, use supporters. I cannot evolve. Be clear, you cannot evolve turn 1. Think of it as like a summoning sickness. I just played a Pokemon. He just came out of nowhere. He doesn't want to change forms already. He wants to be the little guy that he is. So you have to wait at least 1 turn before you can evolve. Now, the strategy comes into play. I have Shauna in my hand, but I also have Frogadier. Do I want to attack? Do I want to lose my Frogadier right now? Personally, no. I want to keep Frogadier. I don't need to use the Shauna right now. And I'm going to bypass my turn. Now, there are a few ways of ending your turn. You can simply end it without doing anything, or you can attack, which will end your turn. So make sure before you attack, you've done everything you want to do for the turn, because it will end the game, or it will end your turn. So, as you can see from what Farfetch'd just did, he went for an attack. Player 2, if you go second, you get to attack first. That's just the name of the game. He did 30 damage to Froakie. Now Froakie can take 60. The damage counters stay on though. So I have to watch out for his next turn because he can KO Froakie. And I don't want that yet. It's still too early. Enough said. So, to my advantage, I have Frogadier, who will evolve so I will not die. And, as you can see, evolution just went off. Stage 1 onto a stage 2 on a basic. Clear? I think so. Now, I can get into the trainer cards. I have an item card and I have a supporter card. I plan to use both, most likely. We're going to go for the roller skates. Now, the difference between an item card and a supporter is the consistency. Notice how it says on the item card, sorry guys, it says flip a coin. That's right. So I'm going to play it. And I have to flip a coin before I can actually draw those cards. Now thankfully, I grabbed what I wanted. More energy. Again, I can only play 1 energy a turn. So going first, let me get my water energy out. And now, my Frogadier is ready to attack. But I'm not ready to attack yet. I'm ready to support. I'm going to Shauna. Now, yes, people could argue you have Sphelio. You could do more. Yeah, I understand that, but strategically, is it necessary to have Sphelio? No. Not right now. So, I have another item card. This is an Acro Bike. And this says, look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand and discard the other. So, I have to make choices. I'm going to actually play it. I get to look at the top 2 cards. Well, I have more cards than my opponent. But at the same time, Acro Bike's going to do the exact same thing I'm doing now. So I'm going to take this Battle Reporter. Supporters are usually more resourceful. You're going to get more out of your buck for having a supporter. Again, it depends on the supporter. There are cards that are going to pull cards out, do something else, like destroy energy, but in most cases, it's to benefit your Pokemon or hand size. So, for this, we're simply going to attack, and I'm going to use Lick. Now, I haven't gone over special conditions yet. There are different ones. So for Paralysis, which is the one we're planning to use, I have to flip a coin for it, and we get heads. You turn your card sideways. This status ability only lasts to the end of the turn. So at the end of turn, Paralysis is gone, Farfetch doesn't have it anymore. Great. All done. There's a few other status conditions to look out for. You have Poison. Poison stays permanently as long as the Pokemon is in the active position. And what it does is it does 10 damage per in-between turn. You have Burn. Kind of the same, but you flip a coin. If you flip a heads, no damage. If you flip tails, I believe it's 30 damage you take. No, I think it's either 30 or 20. I apologize if I'm wrong on that. And then you have Confusion. Now, Confusion, you flip the card upside, you flip it 180 degrees. And what this happens is every time you go for an attack, you flip a coin. If heads, you attack as per normal. If tails, however, your attack is cancelled and you deal 30 damage to yourself. And the last condition is Sleep. When your Pokemon is asleep, in between turns, you flip a coin. If heads, your Pokemon wakes up. But if tails, your Pokemon remains asleep. So you could be asleep the entire time you're in the active, or you could be awake before it's even your turn. Now, on with the game. We're going to... I haven't any need for any of the Pokemon currently in my hand, but I should set up another Pokemon. And I think I'm going to set up Sphelia with an energy. So we're going to continue licking our Farfetch'd opponent. Are we going to flip heads? No, this time Farfetch'd can come in and deal more damage, which is fine. Again, our opponent's evolving. So we're seeing more evolutions and more energy. We're getting more Pokemon. Now, there are 3 ways of winning this card game. And it's very simple. The first rule, if you look over here, you'll see 6. Well, this represents how many prize cards I have. In order to win Pokemon TCGO, you have to collect all 6 prize cards. That's condition 1. Condition 2 is if I knock out all of these Pokemon before I've collected all my prize cards, I also win the game. And the third condition is if my opponent has no more cards he can draw, he loses the game. So there are 3 methods of winning. Collecting prize cards, knocking out all your opponent's Pokemon, or making your opponent draw all his cards. Now, quite frankly, you will very rarely see what they call a mill, which is losing all the cards in your deck. You will most likely see the first 2 conditions. Now, with Frogadier, I am going to take the first prize card of the game. So 30 more. Doesn't matter that I flipped heads. Farfetch, with all his cards, go to the discard pile. And I get to claim another card. So now I am at a prize advantage. And our opponent had to place another card in the active position. You always, always, always have to have a card in the active position. Otherwise, it's game over. Hence why condition 2 is a thing. Now, I again cannot do much. I don't need any more basics. I don't need any more energy, really. I will attach this one to Spheal. I apologize. My bad. But we are simply going to attack, paralyze this P-Dove and continue on with the game a little bit more. Most likely, we're going to bypass the turn. Bypass this game. We'll finish it off early. But as you see, P-Dove actually just took out Frogadier. So now our opponent, they claimed a prize. And in the discard, you can actually see that Frogadier, Froakie, and the water energies that were attached to him all went to the discard. So, unfortunately, if you have a big hitter out, with tons of cards attached to it and somebody knocks it out, they're all gone. That's how the game plays. Again, simple mechanics now. It's just repeat, repeat, repeat. We get another turn. We can use item cards, search for what we want. I'll probably grab a Celio, sorry. I will evolve because Spheal's been out for a turn. There he is. He's got his energies attached, like I said. He has no special conditions on him. He's clean to go. He never took any damage, which is fine. And we're going to attach another energy to Celio now. And we can simply go... I can't knock out this P-Dove anyway, so this is where your strategy comes in. Celio's like, hey, look, I got 2 moves for you. Oh, sorry, I can knock it out. But on a regular basis, say P-Dove had 60 HP still. Aurora Beam, can't knock it out. So I may go for a Freezing Headbutt. Gives me the opportunity to paralyze and stall out until I can knock out the Pokemon. That is entirely up to you. Entirely up to the player. It's all on how you play your strategies and how you play your cards. So at the end of the day, when it comes to winning, it's all in your hands. What your cards can do, what you put in your deck to manipulate what you're going to get. As you can see, we are now again in the winning position. He's had to bring out his Bibarel because again, now here's a great card that I want to go over. This is another example of a supporter. Team Flare Grunt. This one specifically says discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's anything. Any energy at all. So if I had a double colorless that I showed, a special energy that I showed, or a basic, this guy, he can say, hey look, I'm just getting rid of 1 energy and it's gone. Done. There are cards out there that get rid of energies specifically, but on this guy, it was specifically any energy at all. So here's my options. I'm going to go with that option again. I'm going to Freezing Headbutt. Hope to get that para. We don't get it. That's the luck of the game. I don't have any very often, so this guy's going to hit us for 80. Oh my, that's a lot of damage. I may want to set some cards up here. But like I said, I don't plan to finish this game. I plan to just play it out, have a little bit of fun with you guys. That's it. No. Arcelio's going to go down here. So, with this though, I think I will end the game. I will concede our match. Thank you. And I think I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. So, I did go over the basics. Like I said, I most likely missed something. I can guarantee you I missed something. But I'm not perfect. If you have any more questions, definitely leave me something in the comments below. I want to help you guys out as much as I can to get into the card game. I'm looking for more players. If you want to play against me, just send me out a shout anytime. I'm here quite often, and I'll play you guys just for fun. Maybe I'll record you playing one time. You never know. But until then, thank you for watching. I hope this little guide was helpful for you. I may have jumbled around a little bit, but hey, that's life. And again, thank you for watching. Time out.